What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network, and we are back to discuss a new television series. It's been a little bit since we've done some TV. It is going to be Apple TV's Pluribus, the highly anticipated follow-up series from Vince Gilligan, the creator of the whole Breaking Bad universe, whether it's Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul or El Camino. He is now back with his first show in, I believe it's close to 5 years, something like that, on Apple TV with Pluribus. I'm going to be one of your hosts. My name is Darian Vinny. I am joined this time by Vinny Albano.
Hello, hello.
There's so much excitement on the network about this show that we're going to have a lot of rotating guests throughout the 8 weeks or 7 weeks, I guess it'll be, before the end of the first season. Me and Vinny are going to be doing some reviews. Mark is going to hop in at some point. Sean's going to hop in at some point. Zach's going to hop in at some point. So a lot of people are excited about it. We're here to talk about the first 2 episodes that released last Friday as of this recording. It's going to come out on Friday's new episodes. And it was getting a lot of hype even once I started to see the reviews kind of flood in. You know, there was a lot of talk about what this was going to be. It's Rhea Seehorn getting a chance to lead a series after she was such an integral part of Better Call Saul and like this absolute scene stealer in a lot of times with that series. And in this one, she gets to take the lead. And I'm really impressed by the first 2 episodes of the show because it's so different than anything we're seeing. It's such a great commentary on so many different things, including the fact that it's very clearly a show that's inspired by the pandemic, which I know that Vince Gilligan, I believe, started writing this when the pandemic was happening, so it makes a lot of sense. But it's not one of those things where it feels like, oh, this is a pandemic show, because it can apply to all aspects of life. And it's a dark comedy. It's a sci-fi. It's a noir. It's a mystery. It's a drama. It's already so many things through 2 episodes. So I'm really excited to talk about this week to week. But Vinny, what are your kind of broad thoughts on the first 2 episodes of the series?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. I think Vince Gilligan and his team are always crushing it. And something I love about Vince Gilligan as a storyteller, and you see it here, and you see it a lot in Breaking Bad as well. He loves these oddities, and in a way, they feel very Lynchian, where he has these very odd components that end up playing integral roles within the plot. Little things, right? I think in Breaking Bad, the little pill, I forget what it is, that kills the girl,
Kristen Ritter's character,
and the girl that Jesse's was dating, the son of that woman, who then gets poisoned by the all those little things, or the Dean or Hank looking into the book and then seeing the autograph, being like, oh my god, he's Heisenberg. I love that. He has all these little oddities. And here you see it a lot too, where these little odd things, the character of Raban, she's a novelist and she has this character that's very popular and how that plays into it. Just love that type of storytelling. I love it. I'm very curious, however, because as of right now in my broad thoughts, I don't have much to say. We're only 2 episodes in, and I have no idea where they're going to go with this show. I have no idea. Honestly, they were going in a direction that I thought they were going to go, and they didn't. So now these hive mind group of people are a very positive group of people. They're not hostile towards Rhea's character. So I'm super interested. I don't have no idea where they're going to go with this, but there's a lot of room to play with, which is exciting.
I agree. I think so. Rhea Seehorn, just I guess a general gist of the series. If you're watching this, though, you probably already know this. But Rhea Seehorn plays a character named Carol Sturka, who is a very famed fantasy novelist. She has this whole sort of lore that she's created, and she is miserable with her life. She despite having financial success and notoriety and fame and celebrity, she believes that she is really just writing mindless crap. It's clear that she might have had alcohol abuse previously. We see kind of when she wants to drive the car, but every time in her car she shares with her girlfriend, Helen, there's a breathalyzer. So if she has any alcohol in her system, she's unable to drive a car, which is typical of someone who has received a DUI previously. So that's where we kind of start off with Carol. Amidst that, we're also getting this intro in the beginning of the series where we're seeing these scientists of some kind working in this lab, and they're working on this study, and it's something that has not been successful. The things that they're testing, it's not really working out. And one of the scientists winds up getting bit by a mouse, I believe it is, or a rat that they believe is dead, and it comes back to life, bites them, and it winds up basically infecting them. At first, I'm like, is this virus? Are we dealing with zombies? Are we dealing with a Last of Us type situation? And it does get us into this thing where you were talking about it. Majority of people in the entire world become a part of this hive mind where everybody knows everything and everybody is experiencing everything that everyone else is experiencing, which is this great idea for a series, by the way. There's so much to play with that. And for some reason, Carol is one of these 11 people that seem to be immune to this. And you see it through this really eerie character, which is one of the people that works for like Homeland Security in the United States government, named Davis Taffler, who's communicating with her through the television, being like, we don't know why, but we're going to figure it out, and we're going to fix you. And I love that because you were talking about, you're like, I don't know where they're going to go with it. We don't know a lot, and you're right. The synopsis, or I guess the plot, the log line for this series for a lot of time up until it debuted was Rhea Seehorn plays a woman who is the most miserable person in the world, who needs to save the world from happiness, which I think is a really interesting premise and a great pitch, obviously, for anything. So I'm excited to see where they go with that, because it is clear through 2 episodes that she has this motivation to try to get the world back to where it was. As if she even maybe has the opportunity to do that. We're not even sure if she's going to be able to do that. But all the other people that possess what she possesses across the world have no interest in doing that, because they're like, well, we can still be with our families and we can still be with our loved ones, and everybody seems to be happy, and we can get whatever we want, and that's good enough for us. So for you, that whole outlook, right, of that group of people that we see in episode 2, what are your thoughts on just the generalized plot of what this show is? Because like you said, we don't know everything. There's a lot still to be uncovered, but where we end up through the first 2 episodes, like, what was your own interpretation of what that meant and what you would maybe even do in a situation like that? Because it's a crazy question that's posed by Vince Gilligan.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think, now I'm only assuming here, but the thesis of this show is going to regard within human nature and the morality of humans, because that's what I'm seeing a lot here. You know, from a lot of the people that they're fine with this. They're coping, man. They're coping. Because that's not your son. Like, I'm on her side. Like, that's not your son. That's not your wife. Like, that's you're coping. But then we see the one person that she might be able to get behind is the man who is abusing that power and loves, he comes in with Air Force One, like, crazy. He has all these women just subservient to him. And then, so where's this going to lead? How is the only person that she thinks she could possibly rely on at the end of episode 2 is really not a good person? So it's a hard question to tackle.
Yeah.
It really is a hard question to tackle, but I'm curious what the thesis of this show will be, or should I say, what we will interpret as a thesis.
Yeah. I think morality is a good place to go with it, because as you said, I mean, the most obvious example is the character that we meet in episode 2. Trying to think of his name. Mr. Diabate, I believe that's his name. And you're right. Like he's genuinely not a good person. He wants to, any woman he seems is somewhat attractive, he wants to get his hands on.
Yeah.
And you have this really interesting dynamic with the pirate lady, as the episode is titled, and Carol calls her Carolina Wedra, played by Zosha, which I think that intro to that whole episode is awesome, by the way. Just seeing her as this entity in this different country, piling bodies, to the hive mind essentially being like, this is the person embodiment that we believe will be the most inspiring is not the right word, but it would be the most amicable to put Carol with, to make her feel at ease about the situation. Yeah. To then seeing her, you know, get on a giant jet, fly that jet to the United States, fly it to where Carol is, taking a shower, getting ready, and showing up in her backyard. It's a crazy thing that it's a lot of people have been talking about the inspiration, but it is like Invasion of the Body Snatchers with the within 6 different genres, which I think is so impressive because he's balancing so much through 2 episodes already that you're questioning as a viewer, you know? And I'm interested because, like, this, my brother and I were having this conversation because we watched the first 2 episodes together. It's like, think about anything that you're doing, you're affecting everybody at the end of the day, right? Like, that's one of the big central things that we get with Carol's character is that when she gets angry and insulting, it's affecting everyone in the world to where she's killing millions by her actions. And so even within her own morality, even though she's like, this is not right, this is not okay, that everybody is feeling everything that everyone else is feeling, she's contributing to that in a negative way, right? Then you think about Mr. Diabate's character, and it's something where, like, think of this, like he's obviously a womanizer. Has probably a number of sexual partners since this has begun, right? And it's like, anytime he kisses another person, he's kissing billions of people. It's the sensation of kissing billions. You know what I mean? Like, that is what we're grappling with in the large scheme of what this show is. Yeah. So there's a lot to go off of. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so much that we can wrap our brains around with this show, and we're going to be questioning week to week because there's so much in the air. And like you said, like, we're only 2 episodes in. We're 2 hours into this large scale story that, of course, I mean, Vince is a long-term storyteller too. You know, he did, I believe it was 6 seasons with Better Call Saul. He did 5 or 6 seasons with Breaking Bad. He wound up doing the sequel movie for Jesse. So like, he's got a lot of ideas, and this is one he's been sitting on for so many years. So there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to discuss. What were some things that surprised you about this in the first 2 episodes? Something that has stuck with you since you've watched them and you're excited to kind of get either more answers, or something that maybe you haven't seen before that you're excited to kind of see that perspective that Vince is going to be able to add to it.
I will say, at this point in the story, there's not something that has really shocked me all too much, or aside from, you know, the concept alone being fairly cool. But at this point in the story, I can't really say something has particularly surprised me or something I haven't seen before. But it is setting the stage for something like that. I'm just curious how he's going to pull that off. I think if I had to choose something, though, the overall tone and, for example, the opening scene of episode 2, which you mentioned and you went over, those were 2 things that really stood out of like, oh, this is something different than, you know, other like stories like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, right? Where you have this very like unsettling but kooky comedic tone to the whole thing, and I really love that. I mean, I've said multiple times on the podcast, like, how some of my favorite stories are really dark stories that then just like laugh in your face. but then also like, they're laughing out of nervousness, but then you also find it funny, right? So I love that. I love that. If I had to choose something, what I'm most surprised about here, but I'm still waiting. I'm curious where we're gonna go.
Yeah, I think if you have the ability to blend genres the way that he's doing here, you have the opportunity to also reach so many different audiences and so many different perspectives, which is the most interesting thing to me, because like you said, like we might be dealing with a character that genuinely is dealing with, like, I mean, she kind of is dealing with depression and self-hatred and self-esteem issues, who now has to take it upon herself to either kind of fall in line to become happy with a world that now she has no other choice, or continue with her ways and potentially kill billions of people, which is such a great question to grapple with for a television series. And I am curious to see how long they go with it. I mean, obviously we're only, like I said, 2 episodes in, but this is probably, I'm sure he has a multi-season arc in place in knowing of what he wants to do. Because I know it's not a miniseries. It's created as a scripted ongoing series. So I'm just very curious on where he's going to go with it, because there's a lot to like with it. You're already dealing within the ideas of identity and personality, and like we already talked about morality, but you're right, it's hard to talk too much about it because we don't have a lot of answers. We don't know where we're really going with it. Were there any moments to you that were like comedic, like something that was dark comedically that you liked? Because, like, again, this is something where it is unsettling on the surface and it is thrilling and compelling, but there are moments where you could just like laugh at being like, what is this? Like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I really honestly adore the dinner scene when they're all eating dinner
in the second episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she asked the kid about a pelvic exam, I believe it was, right? And I'm like, you could have, honestly, Vince Gilligan, you could have went crazier with that. You know what I mean? Like, you want to, I understandably so, like, you don't want to have, they probably felt uncomfortable with, like, obviously that being a child actor. But you could have said, she could have said anything. She could have said crazy fucking shit.
Yeah.
And it would have been, like, so true. Like, I'm with her on this. But I love that scene. I think it's very funny. I think it's super just witty from her character and the writing of it. I also, if I were to choose some humor, I like the whole pirate lady showing up, like the lines of dialogue, but oh, well, we have someone watching in the sky. Oh. They're going now. Right? Like, love that delivery. I love those lines of dialogue. Yeah.
I'm curious on how the show is going to operate as Gilligan starts to introduce more characters and kind of seeing where we go from here. And I don't think I think that intro with those 11 characters, there's more to be seen, like it's going to be more than those 11 characters. And even the dynamic with the pirate lady is a really interesting one that you get in the second episode, you're starting to see and feel that Carol is just enjoying having company, you know what I mean? But that company is somebody that is being controlled by this hive mind. Understanding the balance of extremism, because that's what this is, right? Is there an evil behind all of this, when on the surface it's everybody is just happy to be alive and nice to one another, and it's like solving things like hunger, and so, like, like within the snap of a finger, all those things are being figured out, and Carol can have anything and everything she wants for the first time in her life. But that's not good enough for her. So that kind of stuff where we're going to be juggling and we're going to be seeing kind of where we go with it. And I do agree. That was probably my favorite comedic part of the first 2 episodes as well. And I do think that Vince Gilligan is going to go in a darker direction with it. Like, I think we are going to get more crazy comedic things. I think that's just kind of on the surface. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, they could have kept going with it. I think we're going to get more of that. You know what I mean? Like, we get even in the first episode, like it's again this fear, like this anxiety inducing laughter, but like when you're seeing the characters kind of go around just kissing people to pass on the disease or pass on the virus, and then you see people just licking donuts and putting them back in a case, it's just like, oh my god, like, oh, that's like disgusting. But like you could totally see that this is the easiest way for them to spread this virus through saliva, which was unfortunately a big part of how we lost a lot of people during coronavirus. You know, like just the sharing of saliva, just everyone talking about wash your hands, bodily fluids, like all that stuff. So I don't know. I'm incredibly impressed with the first 2 episodes. I haven't seen a show like this, which is exciting. I like when there's something new and there's something fresh that we get a take on. One of my favorite shows currently on television is Severance, which does a very similar thing. It's tackling the workplace in a way that feels new and fresh in a different take, you know? So Apple's pushing the envelope, man. Apple always has some really interesting sorts of storytelling that I really appreciate. Different off the beaten path stuff than we get typically from Netflix or HBO or network television. So through 2 episodes, I'm really excited. I'm really happy with what we've seen so far.
Yeah, and as you say that, honestly, just some final thoughts from me. The question of morality of when you brought up this is right, not to get, because you'd have full on hour-long conversations about this, but there's this whole question within philosophy of do you put morals onto animals? Do you put morals onto God? Do you put morals? Are humans even humans? Like, how do we determine? Do we put morals on humans depending on the situation, right? So we have this entity that exists within a strain of DNA, right? So it's a strain of DNA that they replicated, and for all they know, it could have been sent by aliens. It could have been God who put it there, but it was from long, like 600 million years ago, I think they said, right? Where light years or whatever, meaning it was there probably even before the Earth came into fruition.
Yeah.
Right? And then this strain of DNA is now being replicated, and whatever the hive mind is, it's not. Do we put a moral understanding of it onto it? Like, that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, everyone is happy, but is that good, right? What makes us human is our imperfections and our individuality, and that's what makes things right. So do the wrongs of the world make the rights right? So now you have all these huge questions, and is being almighty happy one civilization within one mind, does that make it right? And can we even put a moral understanding on a force of nature that we don't even know if it is intelligent or not, right?
Yeah.
So that's for one. And then 2, to add to that second part, not to get controversial, but I've had this conversation about Elon Musk development of Neuralink, right? And Neuralink being a thing of conversation. And again, I'm gonna like dive deep into conspiracy theory here. But I remember when I was younger, there was a conspiracy theory that I heard, right, about supposedly that one dude that got kidnapped by aliens. They made a movie about it, like Fire in the Sky. Really cool scene. If you've ever seen that alien abduction scene, really fucking cool and really scary. But that guy who supposedly got abducted by aliens that they made a movie on, he claimed that they were communicating with each other without even saying words, right? The aliens were able to, almost like they were communicating telepathically.
Yeah.
So there's this whole conspiracy theory that we're at the stage in life where things like Neuralink are now going to be introducing artificial intelligence a part of our human brain, so that 20, 30 years from now or in the future, we don't even have to talk to each other. We already know. My chip is sending you information. I don't even have to talk. Wrench. Thanks. right? Boom, boom, boom. It's like automatic, right? And then you ask the question, is that human at that point?
Yeah.
If we're
morally okay.
Yeah. And is that like, yeah, so it's the question. There's no right or wrong answer technically. But it's whatever you believe. You know, you have people like these big tech conglomerate owning people like Musk who push that.
Yeah.
You know, personally, I'm a humanist. I love humanity. I completely disagree with that. And I don't like the fact that we're becoming robots. But some people would argue that efficiency is the pinnacle of evolution within humanity. Yeah. And I see that a lot within Pluribus, right? Or
Pluribus.
Pluribus, sorry. So, yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of questions of ethics, too. And one of the things I'm wanted to wrap it up by saying this, too. You talked early in the beginning of this review about how Vince Gilligan will kind of lay the tapestry of what the show is in these little moments, right? Yeah. There's a great line of dialogue in this episode, the second episode specifically, which, by the way, we've talked a lot about the second episode. The pilot is amazing. The pilot is amazing. And it sets the stage perfectly for what the show is going to be. And the second episode goes in a completely different direction, which you kind of alluded to already. But the Caroline is Weedra's character. I just want to make sure I'm getting her name correct. Her character name, because we keep calling her Pirate Lady. Zoja. She has a line of dialogue where she goes, of course you can meet with these people, these 5 people, but we can't protect you from each other. Which is now laying in the audience's brain, well, so who are the problem here? Is it the humans? Is it the people that they're so self-centered that they only are thinking about their own relationships with their families and they still have that? Yeah. And that's more important to them than saving humanity? Ultimately, you know? So there's so much that we're going to be able to dive into week to week with the show. I'm really excited to talk about it week to week. And yeah, man, I'm happy to get a show also this impactful at the end of the year, you know, because I feel like this is always the time for movies, which I still appreciate. And I've seen more movies this year than I've seen in recent years, bar none. But television, I felt so disconnected from certain things. And this is a series that I'm like, man, I can't wait to watch this week to week. Like, there's no way I'm missing an episode on a Friday, at all. Yeah. So there's a lot to talk about. We're happy to discuss it going forward with you guys. Me and Vinny are going to be on some pods. Like I said, Sean, Zach, and Mark are going to be joining us some of the weeks. And this is going to be running until December 26th. So basically all the way till Christmas. So hopefully you guys join us on the ride here on the Culture Wave Media Network. We'll be reviewing it, like I said, week to week. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. What do you guys think about the first 2 episodes of Pluribus? Give this video a like if you guys can and subscribe to us here. We're also on social media. You can see all that stuff below and check out some of our other reviews for films and TV. I have interviews up on the channel I've been doing recently. Hoping to get more of those out for you guys as well. So check all that stuff out. And then, please join us week to week covering Pluribus. But just signing off, I'm Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Vinny Albano.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.